Wayne Manor North.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wayne Manor North. I am Dan, your host, and thank you for joining me today for this Wayne Manor Perspective on this really incredible, I think widely agreed upon grail piece in our statue collecting community. This, of course, is Poison Ivy from XM Studios. Today, what I wanted to bring you was my Wayne Manor perspective on this piece. She, of course, is incredible. She's an extremely difficult piece to hunt down, of which I can attest. I had pretty much every known collector friend of mine in our community, really worldwide. I had friends in Asia looking out for this one. I had friends in Europe looking out for this one. I had folks here, of course, in the United States keeping an eye out for this one. And at the end of the day, no surprise, my friend and yours, Todd Johnson with Spec Fiction Collectibles, came through with this piece in a big way. Can't say enough about Todd and what he's done for our community. He is a tremendous resource for us as collectors. He is a tremendous vendor partner for us as collectors in being able to hunt down difficult to find pieces like this, as well as those that are coming down the pipe from a pre-order perspective. So huge shout out to my friend Todd for helping me track this one down. She is, of course, extremely difficult. She was the second piece that was made available in the Samurai line from XM just a short couple of years ago. Batman was, of course, the first piece that they released, had a 999 edition size. Hers was slightly less. Although it says 600 on the website, she had an edition size of 650. Now, I'm sitting here next to my collection shelf because I don't even like to move her. One of the aspects of her that I'm going to talk about a bit is how delicate she is. So I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about value and price, and I'm going to talk, of course, a little bit about her from a review standpoint and what do I think of her from a design standpoint, concept, paint, quality, etc. And we'll get into all of those things here in just a moment. All right, so first let's talk about the details. As I said, she is a 650 edition size. Mine here is number 46 in that edition. And what's interesting about that is even at 650 pieces, I really wonder how many actually got produced. Because again, it was only just a couple of short years ago that she was made available. And now it seems like she might be the most difficult XM Samurai piece to track down. Even Batman seems to be a little bit more available, although he's a tough one as well. The original Batman, if you will, the first piece in the line. But she is just, it seems like damn near impossible. I don't know if it's because of the delicate nature of the statue that perhaps many of those that were produced are broken. It could be that she is just widely held onto by collectors because she is just that good, and I'll talk about that again in a moment. Not sure why, but she is extremely hard to get, as I think many of us have found, those that have sought her out. And pardon my notes, but I didn't want to get any of this wrong. She was created by sculptor Carrie Martin Augusta at XM Studio. She is approximately 20¼ inches tall. She is approximately 12 inches from a width standpoint, and I try to give the broadest perspective on her that I can, so that if you're looking to display her in an enclosed shelf unit such as a Vesta or whatnot, you kind of know what you're getting into. But she's about 12 inches wide at her widest point and about the same in depth, about 12 inches in depth that you'd need for her from the tip of this guy's tongue all the way back to these the various cherry blossoms that you see wrapped around her. So she's actually a space-friendly piece, really not that big. She comes with two portraits, one that you see here. This is my preferred portrait. She comes with a second portrait as well, which I'll picture here. Both beautiful, both extremely well sculpted. It really just comes down to a preference thing. She also comes with two right arm swap outs, one with a fan and one where she's able to hold an umbrella, which is absolutely beautiful, pictured here. This umbrella is actually a functioning umbrella, meaning it folds down and expands. It's made from paper and wood. It is absolutely beautiful. And she has two left-hand sculpts, one with the mask, a geisha mask, and one without. Of course, sculpted in the geisha style. One of the things, and I'm going to include some close-ups here as I talk through this, but one of the things that you'll notice about this statue is the quality of what appears to be almost an embossed effect, and I'm going to picture that here, an embossed effect on her dress, and on both on the top part and the bottom part of her kimono, as well as the way that the plant effect is applied to her legs. So the plant effects are not just painted on, they're actually sculpted on, which the level of detail here, guys, is just off the charts. And that level of detail really kind of moves out, and again, I'm going to include some close-ups here, to the plant monsters. And I don't know if there's a more technical term than that, but the plant monsters that are wrapped around her also include that same level of depth and detail. One of the aspects of the XM Samurai line, and I think I've mentioned this before in prior reviews, certainly of Harley that's sitting here, her and others, but the multitude of paint type applications that XM uses. So they apply matte finishes, satin finishes, gloss finishes, that also best accentuate the textures that XM uses on their statues as well, and really brings these things to life in a way that I would dare say no other statue company has quite captured. Certainly other statue companies, some do a great job of pose and concept and design. Some do a great job of paint applications in terms of quality and accuracy and the cleanness of their lines, if you will. Some do a great job of expression and portraits, etc. I think one of the reasons that this line has become such an appealing line for so many collectors is that they kind of captured it all, right? They've done this really great job of capturing this really unique concept and design that casts these characters in a different way that we haven't seen before. And I think that kind of captures the imagination. The quality of the concept and how it's delivered is fantastic. One aspect that I don't think gets talked about a lot with this XM Samurai line is every pose is different, right? So unlike, say, the Arkham line from Prime 1, where you pretty much had a fairly static museum pose across the line. Now, from a continuity and consistency standpoint, that's fantastic, right? A lot of people appreciate that kind of similarity. As a collector, I kind of appreciate difference, right? So I appreciate the difference between the pose, this kind of sultry, seductive pose of Poison Ivy that captures the essence of her character extremely well, to kind of the playful yet somehow dangerous looking pose of Harley Quinn. And just the way that XM captures this, the team has done such a great job with this. Absolutely love it. So now I'd like to talk a little bit more about why XM Samurai line for me. And I know I'm kind of deviating a little bit from what was promised in this video, but I hope this is meaningful because I get a lot of questions about it. I recently moved into a new statue room, and I will have that tour for you here shortly. A few parts of it are already shot, and I know a lot of you guys have been asking for it. But my collection room is fairly small, right? My collection room is my home office. It is only about 14 feet, this is my new space, 14 feet long and about 13 or 14 feet wide. So it's really not that big, and I have a big set of windows on one side of the room that you can't see here. And that works for me. I actually prefer to keep my space fairly small. I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful wife and family that is supportive of my collection habit. My wife has said to me, please, if you want to expand out into other parts of the house, please go ahead and do that. So she's just great about that. And it takes some of that stress off the table about space. However, what I've found is I kind of am a quality over quantity guy. Having done, been in this collecting hobby now for the better part of 10 years plus, I've really learned that about myself. And I would suggest, just a word of advice to newer collectors, or even if you've been collecting for a long time and space stresses you out like it seems to so many of us, really think about what matters to you in collecting. What really gives you enjoyment in the collection? Is it pose? Is it paint? Is it size? Some people prefer the 1/3 high impact statues, of which I have several and a couple more on pre-order. Is it design? Is it uniqueness? What is it that captures your interest? One aspect of this hobby that over the past few years I've really kind of elevated my level of attention to is the art. I really appreciate the art in these things, in the statues as well as the two-dimensional art. And I've started to kind of turn my attention even more to that, because I find in my collection room, the balance and the two together, that's what brings me joy. That's the thing that when I come in my room and I have a seat, I'm at my desk or I'm just walking through, really captures my attention. So I don't mean to go on to a diatribe about that, but I hope that helps. That's the way that I think about it. I prefer to keep my collection small. It helps me from the standpoint of stress around space, stress around just the financial commitment, and it's whether you have the capacity to afford these things or not. I choose not to have hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up in this hobby. That's just me. I kind of prefer the focus, and it kind of helps me a lot. So I hope that some of those thoughts maybe help you out a bit. Maybe they ring true for you, and provide you a little bit of just guidance from a collector that's been in this hobby for a while. So anyways, let's get back to Poison Ivy. She is fantastic. One of the bigger questions I get about her is the financial side, right? So although I don't want to get into the specifics of kind of dollars spent and with whom and what was paid and all of that, I do want to give you a ballpark. So I will tell you that it's north of $2,500 US that I spent for her. And I'm sure that causes a gasp in a lot of you, but it's all a value thing. It's all a relative value thing. I am not a completionist. I am not, at least in most senses of the word, I don't need to have every samurai piece. And I'll give you an example. I don't need to have the penguin. He's enormous, from a relative size standpoint. I've got Bane up here and he's giant. I don't need to have a penguin that takes up that much space, relatively speaking, in my collection. So I'm going to pass. He's a phenomenal looking piece. He's awesome. And if penguin is a priority character for you, by all means, he may be one of the best penguins, if not the best ever created. He's awesome. So XM has killed it on that piece. But from a size standpoint, I won't be bringing him into my collection. I'm not a completionist in that sense. I want the pieces that speak to me from a character standpoint, from an art standpoint, etc. So value-wise, is she worth it? That kind of money? To me, absolutely. I was happy to track her down. I thought that was actually a very fair price given her relative scarcity. But you really do have to ask yourself, is that where you want to put those dollars? If you budget a certain amount of money toward your collecting habit, do you want to put those dollars in? You really have to ask yourself that question. So I would suggest, if you're interested in the piece, that has to be something that you're going to consider, is that. One of the other aspects that I want to talk about relative to value, and I know it may be a little bit challenging to make the connection here because it kind of is for me. She is extraordinarily delicate, extraordinarily delicate. She is, all of these flowers, the way that you assemble her, she's actually intertwined, and you probably can't tell. Maybe I'll include a picture here, try and give you this angle, a better angle, but the giant vine that's coming up from the bottom, that supports the plant monsters, her legs are actually intertwined in between those. Her arm is very, very close and somewhat intertwined with the foremost plant monster. All of these flowers, some of them attached separately, some of them are a permanent part of these vines, all extremely, extremely delicate. The other piece that you have, and I'm just going to be very upfront and transparent about this, and I talked to Todd about it. It's, guys, it comes with the hobby. I had a little bit of, I think, a lean with this foremost plant monster. And I think it's just a natural result of the polystone, right? These things, they react to heat, they react to cold. And I had a little bit of a lean, and I'm going to talk about something that I haven't talked about yet. I've gone back and forth as to whether or not I wanted to mention this because of a couple of reasons. One, embarrassment. And two, I just, I don't want to detract from my thoughts on the piece. And I haven't even told Todd this. So Todd, if you're watching this, this is the first you're hearing of it. When I had the lean issue, again, the lean issue being with this foremost plant monster relative to the position of her arm. So there's no lean in her. There's no lean or key issue with her feet. The lean issue is with this plant monster itself, and there's two aspects of it. There's a lean issue relative to the shape of the vine itself, because it's very delicate and somewhat small, I believe that temperature has played a little bit of a hindrance, if you will, with this, where it's caused it to kind of, I think, lean a little bit, come back, lean a little bit. When I went to try and arrange this in the appropriate setup, if you will, relative to this arm fell out, fell on the floor. This arm fell out, fell on the floor. This arm fell out, fell on the floor. And all 5 digits broke. All 4 fingers and her thumb broke right off. You want to talk about I want to cry collector moment? That was a big one. Now, for me, I typically don't sell a lot of pieces. I don't collect these things ever to sell them. She's not going to leave my collection. I'm not worried about it. I had to take a deep breath, accept the pain, and I took my time. This actually is the hand. I'll show you a close-up of it here in a picture so that you can see. I luckily found all 4 fingers and the thumb. All were clean breaks. I glued them all back on. I'm kind of telling you this and exposing this piece, at my own embarrassment. I consider myself a very careful collector. I take really good care of the statues and the art in my collection. And it didn't anger me so much as just embarrassed, and I was just disappointed in myself. But I say these things because I think we all do it. If you're a collector of these statues and you've been doing this for some time and you have several of them, it's going to happen, guys. It's going to happen. It's going to happen with pieces that you really care about. At the end of the day, this is a thing. It's a thing that brings me enjoyment. It's a piece of art that I look at every single day. On the other side of the camera over there, in that part of the room, is my desk. I face this part every day. I love and appreciate it. I fixed it. It's not a problem for me. Would it affect resale someday down the road if I want to sell it, or that my kids who inherit this stuff want to sell it? Maybe a little. But I think with a piece this beautiful, not a big deal, guys. Not a big deal. Take a deep breath. This, again, just advice. Take a deep breath. It's going to happen, and get it repaired. It's okay. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that. It's a little bit cathartic for me to be able to talk about it with you, but I thought I would share that experience. It doesn't detract, as you can see, from the statue at all. It just happened. Every other part of the statue is perfect. When I talked to Todd about the leaning issue, I'm not going to go into the details of that. I consider that kind of a private matter between Todd and I, how we handled it. I will tell you, it really wasn't handled. It wasn't a financial thing for me. It was more a how do we address to make sure the statue is right and the piece is right. And Todd absolutely did that, 1,000%. And I can't thank him enough for just being an awesome guy and an awesome partner in this collecting hobby for me. So that's really about it, guys. I just want to give you my perspective on her. And at the end of the day, is she worth it? Yep, she's worth it. If you can find one, get her. She's awesome. If you have the means and the desire to have her in your collection, do it. One of the things I wrote down on my notes, when this piece was announced by XM Studio, I remember a couple years back, and I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm going to collect the samurai line or not, and I passed on her. If you go on the site today, now she's sold out, of course, but she is listed, her original price was 1,200 Singapore dollars. In today's US dollars, that's $888. You couldn't buy her right arm for $888, guys. My guess is you're probably looking with shipping no less than $3,000 today. She just continues to go up and up and up as people kind of see more of the samurai line, see it in more people's collection, see how incredible it is. She's only going to go up. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about her today. That is my Manor perspective on Poison Ivy. A lot of great reviewers out there on YouTube have done a phenomenal job. Certainly Chris has done a great job. My good friend George Raw has done a great job of reviewing her, as well as others. So I encourage you to take a look. If you happen to come across one, buy her. She's that good. So anyways, that's all I have to say. Guys, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, please do. Tons of great content, really amazing stuff coming up here in the weeks ahead. I can't really say more than that, but I can tell you that, wow, we have some incredible things coming here on the channel. Please, if you've enjoyed the content, learned a little something, or just enjoyed the perspective on this amazing piece, please drop a like. It really does help the channel, helps other collectors find the content here on YouTube, and helps push us forward and be able to provide you even better and more content going forward. So with that, guys, as always, I am Dan, your host. Thank you for joining me for the Wayne Manor Perspective on XM Studios' Poison Ivy from their Samurai line. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you next time. Cut.